Hello, welcome one, welcome all to another episode of the Usagi Podjimbo podcast. I'm your host, as always, Mike, aka Otaku Mike. But we are back again with another episode. We got a two-parter for you, so a two-part story we're looking at. First, we're looking at part one of Blood Wings, then we'll go into part two of Blood Wings. Very interesting that we got another, like a two-parter, because the last big thing we had was the Dragon Bellow conspiracy, which this references the Dragon Bellow conspiracy. So if you haven't gone back or listened to the Dragon Bellow conspiracy episodes that I put out for Usagi Podjimbo, go back and listen to those. Those are pretty fun listens. I have to say so myself. It's worth every listen, I guess. Click, I don't know. Thank you to the people who are out there listening to the podcast. It's very much appreciated. If you're new, thank you for listening as well. Go back and listen to my other episodes. What are you doing? What are you doing starting with this one? Go back and listen to all the other ones that I feel like are somewhat horribly recorded at some points, but that's just me and my personality, I guess, and my personal bias, I guess, to my own podcast. But we're going to get into this. If you would like to help share the podcast around to your friends if they're interested in Usagi or any Usagi Yojimbo stuff or Stan Sakai or whatever, share the podcast. That is the best way to help the podcast grow. I'm not asking for your money. Just share the podcast. This is just a labor of love for me. I just do this for fun. It helps the podcast grow, helps people find the podcast more easily. And thank you to all the people who listen out there. If you want to reach out to me, you can do so at Usagi Podjimbo, a Usagi Yojimbo podcast on Facebook. We are 25 members strong at this moment. Thank you. Shout out to all the people out there who listen to that podcast and who are a part of that Facebook group, But let's get into this with this issue of Usagi Yojimbo, Blood Wings. Now, I have to say, Blood Wings, I feel like, is a very, very metal name for an issue for a comic book. What's your band name? Oh, we're Blood Wings. Yeah, we are. We're Blood Wings. But our issue starts out at nighttime. We get a cool nighttime setting where Usagi is walking through the road. He hears something. He draws his sword. He freaks out and he sees this Tokage. Usagi is seeing things. He's imagining things. His mind must be playing tricks on him. The night is quiet as any other, he says. And he hears a in the distance. And we see Usagi's like, oh, where is it? He runs to see where exactly this person or whatever it is screaming. And Usagi ends up finding a dog man. He looks like he's a little bit older of a dog man. But he ends up going to him and he's like, oh, who did this to you? And the old dog man is like, Chichi no Tsubasa. I'm guessing that's how he says. And he's like, that means blood wing or wings of blood. I almost said wings of blood in Spanish, but it's in Japanese. And the poor man ends up dying. And he's like, Usagi is very sad that this poor fellow has died. He has been slashed to ribbons. Strange cuts are clearly done with a blade that he has never seen before, like a sword he's ever seen before. And he notices that the poor man, this is the only blood that's on the ground, so he didn't have a chance to actually fight back at all. Like I said earlier, Usagi says that there's no signs of his attackers, and except for his footprints and mine, they are clear. There's no other footprints that he happens to come upon, Usagi says. Usagi says this gets stranger and stranger, and he hears a flapping off in the distance. He's like, oh, what is that? Is that Chino Tsubasa? Is that what it is? And that's where we get our title where it says Blood Wings. And that's really cool. And he's like, hours later, so it's daytime now, I'm guessing. You see Usagi talking to himself. He's like, I'll report the body to the people at the city. And he's like, oh, this village seems very quiet. And somebody happens to see Usagi, and he's like, this guy's like, oh, look, they've sent someone, everybody. They sent somebody to come help us. And they are so glad and happy that Usagi is there to help them with their problem. And they're like, why wouldn't they send more people than just you? Apparently, they don't. And they're like, oh, where's uh Tsuyubo, I believe his name is. Tetsubo is the man who perished at the beginning of this particular issue. And he's like, no, I'm Usagi. I'm a lone wanderer. He's like, last night I found a dying man on the road, and he was in front of me, in the main mountains. You know, the man, I guess he's talking to himself, or he's talking to the villagers. He's saying, was the man part of this village? Before he died, he gasps out a word, wings of blood, and we find out, uh, Tetsubo is actually this woman's husband, so he is dead. Uh, Usagi starts to wonder what's going on here. What's going on? Who do you need to be saved from? What are the wings of blood exactly? Uh, and we see this old dog, and he's like, I am Ando, the village headman samurai. I will answer all your questions, since by coming here, you've made our problem yours, he says. But we get this funny little interaction as Ando says, "Follow me, samurai. Let us talk. If you're going to die soon, you should know the reason why exactly you're going to die." We find out that the Chino Tsubasa are actually ninjas. They're known as the Komori ninja clan, which is Komori is also known as bats. They took over the village 2 days ago, and no one has been able to leave the village itself. Uh, Ando says that it started when one of our hunters, pursuing a Tukage lizard of all things, stumbled onto their cave, and they were using it as a hideout. He barely was able to escape with his life. Since then, we have been trapped in our homes, he says. Apparently, according to Ando, Tetsubo was sent to bring help from their lord Hironi, apparently is their lord, help from his gold mines. And I guess he left 1.5 days ago. He was traveling, but he's died, and hope is all gone, apparently. And he's like, "You are now as much a prisoner here as we are, samurai." That's what Ando says. We get these weird little thought bubbles going up, like I think Usagi is very much in shock at this point. They start to wonder, or Usagi starts to wonder. He says that ninjas' actions are usually carefully calculated. What are they doing here exactly? He wonders. And he's like, you mentioned that there was a gold mine, Ando. And he's like, yes, there's a gold mine up north somewhere. And they start to talk about this gold mine, and Usagi figures out that the bat ninjas are actually after the shipment of gold that is going to Ando's lord. Lord, I lost his name. Where's his name? Hirano is his name. Hirano. Sorry about that. Sometimes it's hard to keep up with these names in Usagi. But they start to talk about the gold mines and what's going on up there. And Usagi ends up telling Ando that, well, because Ando questions, why are they trapped in this village? Why are they holding us hostage? And Usagi's like, when your hunter discovered their presence, they had to prevent the alarm from spreading. So that's why they're very cautious, apparently. And they are keeping y'all at bay by basically holding the town hostage at this point. Ando happens to say, why not just destroy us? It'll be simpler or easier to destroy us than keep us here. And Usagi's like, that would be too much commotion. that might alert the mine itself. And they start to talk and about all the bats and what the bats are doing and stuff like that, and how apparently that the bats will probably ravage the village, take everything. They want to eliminate all witnesses to the crime, apparently. And Ando happens to tell his son, which I don't believe we get his son's name in this particular issue, but his son has been going back and forth throughout this entire conversation. He has been bringing in wood, I'm guessing, for the fire. He's like, my own son will escort you, samurai. That's what Ando says. The Komoro's power seems to be greatest at night, and it's already late in the day, so you will leave at first light tomorrow. And his son is very much taken back at this point. He's like, what? Like, where do I have to go? And we see like the night, and we get this cool scene. I love this scene where it's like just says flap, 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 flap across this landscape, and we end up seeing flap, flap at this castle, and we find out I guess this is Lord Hebe's castle. I'm not really for sure, and maybe it's one of Lord Hikiji's castles or fortresses, but Lord Hebe is in it right now, and Lord Hebe is in cahoots with the ninja bats, the bat ninjas. They're talking about the town, and they're like, yes, my people, the bat ninja says, like, yes, my people have ambushed Lord Hirono's gold shipment. When we leave, we will be leaving in the next 2 days. We will ambush them, and our success is in this endeavor. We will show you that we are loyal to Lord Hikiji. At this point, I guess they need a backup plan for a ninja clan, because the Neko ninjas were very much they had a very big loss of numbers. I don't want to say they're disbanded, but they're like just devastated very quickly, and their numbers have dwindled. And we find out that you can go read this, because the comic tells you can go read this in the Dragon Bellow conspiracy. Go listen to my episode about the Dragon Bellow conspiracy, all like 5 episodes of them. And we see Lord Hebe, and Lord Hebe is like, if you do this, we will be put in the good graces of Lord Hikiji. We need this gold because of what happened in Tomokuro's conspiracy. And the Bat Ninja says, rest assured, your confidence in us, you will not be groundless, he says. And we go from there. Where did I miss a page? Yes, I did miss a page. So we go from there, and Lord Hebe sneaks off. We happen to see somebody we haven't seen in a couple issues since the Dragon Bellow conspiracy. We see, is it Chizune or Chizu? She has been skulking around and spying on Lord Hebe, with which Chizu was Shinji's sister for the Neko Ninja clan. So Usagi and Ando's son, who will be named nameless at this point because we don't remember what his name is, or we weren't told what his name was, set off with little fanfare as possible, according to Ando, because they must not attract unwanted attention. But they go off, and Ando's son ends up saying, hurry, samurai, we must cover as much ground as possible tonight before nightfall. And we will travel by day, hide out by night. But, even that is not guaranteed our safety, apparently. And as they're running for their lives, or running to get to where they're going, they both gasp, and they see the man who was at the beginning of the story is hung up or strung up in a tree. And Usagi says, that's the man I saw last night die. And you see Ando's son. He's like, Tatsubo. And he's like, oh, I don't feel so good. So Ando's son is not feeling good at this particular moment. Usagi says that the Bat Ninjas must have hung him up as a warning for the rest of the village. And in the background, you see Ando's son puking at this moment. And Usagi says, "Come on, we have no time to lose." Uh, Ando's son is very much trying to hold it together at this moment. He does not look like he's having very much a fun time. Usagi and Ando's son have stopped. They're very much out of breath, tired. Later on, much later on, it says. So we transition from morning to very much nighttime. They agree to both stop and rest. Usagi says that these branches, this is a good spot, and these branches will very much help us out and be a good deterrence for the bat ninjas. And he's like, "Let's stop and eat." And Usagi gives the young pup some rice balls. He's not a young pup. He's like probably like a teenager. I'm guessing. I'm guessing he's like a teenager. And we see them eating. And Ando's son says they'll soon be out in force. And Usagi says, "Don't worry if they come. Don't worry if they come. Have another rice ball." He's basically what he says. And he's like, "You're right, samurai." And Usagi says, "Shh, shh, be quiet." And he's like, I hear wings." And we hear like a screech. And we see these bat ninjas come in. They have blades on the edges of their wings. And you see like all this debris flying around or with Usagi and Ando. I'm going to call him Ando Jr. Ando Jr. Um, it's a very dramatic scene. These bats look freaking scary. I do have to say so myself. Like, these guys look terrifying. And you see Ando Jr. And Ando Jr. is like, they've got blades on their wings. And he's like, Usagi says, "Run, get word to the mine. Run. I'll try to hold them off for you." And we see Ando Jr. He's like, "No, no." He trips over a rock, it looks like, and we hear slice, 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 and he ends up dying. Usagi tries to fight off the bat ninjas, but alas, to no avail. One of them ends up hitting him from behind, dropping his trusty swords. He flumps to the ground, and we see the bat ninjas, and they're like, "It's a samurai. Is he dead? No, he's just unconscious." And they check his body, and they're like, "Perhaps he was sent by Lord uh, Hironi." And they're like, "Oh, we must know if Hironi suspects nothing, must interfere with our planned ambush." They say, "Bring him with us. We must interrogate him." And we see the bats fly off with Usagi strung up behind them, flying in the background with Usagi defenseless, no swords whatsoever. And that is where this issue ends. I do definitely have to say the stakes are high by the end of this part one of this issue. The stakes are so high. Uh, I was not expecting bat ninjas. Like, I didn't really know what to expect. I guess maybe it was something to do with bats. The bats are very much foreshadowed in the beginning of this issue. Very much a good setup, I would have to say. A very good setup. Obviously, this is going to be a very good companion piece to part two. When we get to part two, we finish out the Bloodwing story. I liked it. I liked it a lot. I liked it a lot because it felt almost like a mystery, kind of like a who done it kind of, but we find out who done it very fast. You can definitely pick up on those elements if you're reading it for the first time. I guess you could say, but it was interesting to see other different types of ninjas within the Usagi Yojimbo universe. From here on, like from the beginning, I think we've only seen the Neko ninjas, and it's very interesting to see the bat ninjas and having different elements. They very much kind of reminded me of, like, if you remember when like Ray Shao Ghul like grew his own like army of man bats. It reminded me of that, how they had like ninja man bat things. I have to say, at the beginning of this and at the end of this, very much like creepy vibes I got. Like, I feel like, I mean, we obviously know like Usagi's gonna make it out, but I wasn't expecting a bunch of death in this issue at all. It was a very like a brisk change of pace from our last story, which was the kite story, which was a very fun, almost like lighthearted esque story. But yeah, I loved like Stan Sakai's uses of like dark colors in this, because I am reading from the colored version uh, of the Usagi Yojimbo Origins of Volume 4. Soon we will be done with this. We'll have to go through the black and white stuff, which I already have all the black and white, the rest in black and white, because I got the big collector's editions. But yeah, I love the color aspect. It really much adds a creepy, unsettling vibe to this issue. And it's very well done. I like how they implemented the ninja bats into this. It was really cool. And I'm looking forward to finishing this particular issue, or this particular story arc, I should say. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know what you thought about Bloodwing Part 1. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you guys on the next episode.